Well, Eddie, tell me, you've probably been to a couple of the trial matches. What have been your immediate observations?
I was really impressed by the the Reds Waratahs game on the weekend. I saw the Brumbies the previous week. As we've said, there's some good talent here. The match, particularly the Reds Waratahs game, was a very good quality game, and certainly the players look well prepared.
Has there been any player that's caught your eye that you might not have known beforehand?
Not at this stage, mate. Trial games, horses run fast when there's no one chasing them, mate. So we'll see in the Super Rugby games before we make any deliberations.
Some interesting law variations coming out in Super Rugby. What are your thoughts on that? Things you like, dislike?
Well, I think the whole concept's right. I think, we want the game to be. We want more ball in play in the game. We want the game to have more continuity. We want the fans to have a greater chance to see the game of rugby. So I think it's very positive. I was partly involved in it, so I'm a big fan of it.
If you're preparing a Wallabies team for the World Cup, though, and things are going to be a little bit different in that arena, does that make it a little bit tricky with players prepping them for that?
No, I think it's great, mate. The more we put them under pressure at Super Rugby, the better it is.
So Eddie, you've said the team that learns the most over this kind of 6 months into World Cup will be the one that wins. Having seen the trials, is there a common theme you want to see these players learn at Super Rugby taking to the Wallabies?
Play tough, mate. Play tough, play hard, play for your teammate, and keep on finding the best of yourself. That's what we want to see. I've coached for a fair period of time, and I don't think there's any player I've ever coached that has absolutely optimised himself. And there's the opportunity for each player in Super Rugby to find a way to be a better version of themselves, and that's the opportunity, mate. That's what we want to see.
But have you seen in the early rounds of the Six Nations how the game is going to be played at the World Cup? I know when you were in England you were trying to get them to open up the attack a little more, and I think in the Ireland-France game it was 45 minutes or something. Do you think the game is opening up ahead of this World Cup?
Unless Wayne Barnes referees every game.
Right.
And I think he's 45 now, so there's not much chance of that. Look, you get Ireland are a high possession team. Wayne tends to not referee everything to the letter, tends to referee the spirit of the game. So he gets a good game of rugby. France are trying to play a little bit like Toulouse. I think they're strategically using the Six Nations to develop their game. So of course they want to win, but I think they're prepared to maybe be a bit more exploratory at the moment. So that's a game. Like, we get these all the time. We get outliers all the time, but it's like if you go on a drive, there's a percentage chance of having an accident. And the average chance is average because that's what happens. The same ball in play. The ball in play goes between 30 and 35 minutes. You get outliers of 45, and you get the 29 minutes against South Africa. And if you get a referee that finishes every play with a penalty, the Waratahs Reds game on the weekend, every play ended in a penalty. So you're going to get a low ball in play.
Eddie, how important is success against New Zealand sides this year in Super Rugby?
Look, I think it's important our players play well. I think the expectation is they play well and they consistently play well, and to play well against New Zealand sides is important, but it's not the be-all and end-all. But it'd be nice to have an Australian team win the Super Rugby.
Have you finalised your calendar with the Wallabies for camps and things?
Pretty much so, yeah. We just had a planning meeting on Monday, so we're not too far away from finalising that, but it's pretty close, yeah.
Are you sticking with what was planned, like an April camp first up?
Yes, yeah, that'll still be in place, yeah.
And what about your assistants, Eddie?
Moving along nicely. I might do a bit of fishing in the harbour this afternoon.
Have you got a timeline set for when you'd like those?
As quickly as possible. But, in a lot of ways, we've got time because as a coaching team, we need to be together probably for the last 6 or 8 weeks of Super Rugby, where selection is going to become important. Yeah, the other thing about Super Rugby, the games against the Crusaders or the games against whoever the next strongest New Zealand side is, they're the important selection games because that's when we'll see the level of the players, and of course the local derbies.
Who have you got locked in coaching wise?
No one at the moment, but we will have.
Are you worried at all about
No,
that?
not at all. Not at all.
What about managing player workloads and World Cup? Yeah, so it's a hot topic. Have you laid out what you'd like to see happen ideally?
Yeah, there's I think the modern term for its load management is in place. We'll keep discussing that with the Super Rugby coaches. One of the key aspects in this period of time is to develop good relationships with the Super Rugby coaches. We started that process. So there's a load management in place. There's certain tiers of players, but we'll keep discussing that with the Super Rugby coaches.
It's not going to be a hard and fast 2, 3, 4 weeks off.
No.
Would you look in previous World Cup cycles? Wallabies coaches have sort of borrowed Super Rugby coaches. Would you look to do that?
That's a possibility. Yeah, we haven't discounted anything at this stage. Yeah, we've got a bit of a smash and grab job, so we need people who can do a smash and grab job. So this is like a 9.5 months. We've got to do this. There's a beautiful jewellery store around the corner. We've got to get 4 or 5 coaches that can work together, can bring together a team, get in there, steal the trophy and get out without getting caught. So they're the sort of people we need.
And Eddie, because it's a smash and grab job, it's likely that this coaching structure might be very different to the one in years.
Well, you don't have to worry about that, mate.
No, but people
You don't have to worry about that.
criticised you in the past for turning and burning.
Well,
but,
that's okay.
yeah. But
That's
just
okay.
it.
People are going to criticise all the time, mate. That's all right.
Fair enough.
That Super Rugby opener, Waratahs Brumbies, and there's a large contingency from both sides in that first camp. How important is it you want to see that that attacking style rugby that you want to put into Australia just to set the tempo?
They've got to play how they want to play, mate. We don't tell the Super Rugby teams how to play. We're not New Zealand, we're not Ireland, we're Australia. And so we have a relationship with the Super Rugby coaches. I want them to play the style they want to play. But what I want to see the players play with that toughness, that want to get better, that want to help their teammates in difficult situations. That's what I want to see.
Will there be conversations with coaches about where you'd like to see players down the line?
Depends on the relationship, mate.
But sometimes you might have someone in mind for a 10 and they're playing at 15 or what, what I mean?
You're talking about the Waratahs?
Well, possibly.
Okay. Darren, I'll definitely grab him for a beer. If we have 2 beers, I might have a greater chance.
Is that
If
something
we have
that
3, it might be a super chance.
Is that something that you did with England in terms of club coaches? That would have been a fraud
I
relationship.
don't think so, mate.
Yeah.
No.
And you mentioned the smash and grab nature of it. The other aspect to that is you've got 5 different teams playing different styles. How do you kind of get them all
That's all right.
married together?
All got to go in that direction, mate. And when we get them together, we'll get them in the right direction.
Czech always said of the 2015 relative success of the World Cup that he basically took the Waratahs to the World Cup and augmented that. Is that something you'd be considering? A cohesion subscriber, Eddie?
I'm definitely a cohesion subscriber, but I don't control that because if there's one dominant team in Super Rugby, then we can have that. But if there's 2 dominant teams, then it'll be different. And if there's 3 equal teams, it'll be different. So I don't control that. So I can subscribe to that theory, but I don't control it.
Last couple of things.
And in your time overseas, what was your opinion of Super Rugby looking from afar?
Well, COVID was a tough period, I think. I don't think the level was fantastic in COVID. But certainly this year, I think there's a great chance to have a very solid competition.
Has the absence of South Africa changed the content?
Well, we don't control that.
But as far as preparing players?
No, I don't think so. I really don't know at this stage because I haven't experienced, so I'm only guessing. But we've got to just make sure that once we get the players, they understand what it takes to beat South Africa, and Australia's already done that in the last 24 months, so the players understand that.
Last one, please, guys. Anything else?
You probably just getting to know them, but what do you make of the standard of coaching than Australian Super Rugby?
Yeah, no, good mate. You know, I've already spent some time with Stevie Larkham, going up to see Brad Thorne on Friday. I've caught up with Darren a few times in Griffith and Narrabri, and I'll get down to the Rebels and over to the Force over the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, guys.